Welcome again to another rendition of WTF Interviews. My name is Sir Royce Briales, and I'm with my prestigious co-host, Dr. Raheem Young. How's it going, my brother?
I'm good, man. How's things for you on you?
Man, pretty good, man. Just cut my AC on, man. I ain't trying to be in here sweating, man. So, man, it's heat, man. I can't take it. But I'm pleased to announce we have a special guest, Ernest Crim lll. How's it going, brother?
Hey, I'm doing phenomenal, man. It's great to be here today. Thanks for having me, y'all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So tell us a
joining.
little bit about yourself, man. What do you do, and how many kids you have, and what are their ages?
Yeah, so I like to tell people I'm a Black history advocate, or your favorite Black history teacher, and I always kind of have fun with that because I know most people have never had a Black history teacher before, so I'm the only one, so I got to be your favorite. So full-time job is pretty much I do a lot of speaking and consulting, and I'm also a high school educator teaching U.S. history and African Latin studies. Very involved on this mission, man, of just I like to look at it like I'm continuing the work of people like Carter G. Woodson and just pushing the importance of Black history to our community, and to our country too, in terms of what we need to know to reach our full potential. Because the truths that are hidden within our history, I believe, hold the key to our success. Whether it be stuff that's about Black American history or even African history as well. Um, I got three daughters, man, so I'm a girl dad through and through. Like I got an 8-year-old, 6-year-old, 16-month-old. So,
Oh yeah,
it's a good thing I'm in my office, but you still might be able to hear some screams every now and then. So, but yeah, man, those my girls.
Oh,
so you
that's
got a
cool,
pretty
man.
even gap between the three almost.
Yeah, yeah. So it's the first two, they like best buddies, they real close. And then the last one that we have now, 16 months, and they help out a lot. So it helps for anybody out there. It helps to have that gap because I couldn't imagine having like triplets all three at once. So now we can tell them we could boss them around a little bit. Go get the diapers. Go get this. Go help out.
Yeah,
So it's a
you can
beautiful
delegate.
thing. Exactly, a little assistance.
So, Ernest, how has like an understanding of Black history, how's that impacted you as a father?
Oh man, I think it's outside of having a strong parental influence before being a father. I think it's probably the most important thing for me because it's allowed me to first understand how Black fathers have been systemically taken out of the household, and also understanding the impact I can have. And you see it from a young age, just like when you say something to your child, and like it seems like they take it in more, and I'm just like I'm a student of people like Malcolm X, and of course, like I said, Carter G. Woodson, of course, Dr. King, Frederick Douglass, and I look at the impact their words have had on my life. I look at the impact them being fathers had on their children, specifically Malcolm X and who he was, because he had daughters as well. And I just know, for me, the power of the word, the power of the tongue, and what we say to our children means a lot. So I've always been one who's known that because my father and my mother spoke life over me, and it's led me down my path to success, that it's imperative that I do the exact same thing for my kids, but up it a notch, because I know some things, that my parents didn't know, having the benefit of social media and the internet. So one of the first things I always made sure I did was we reading every day. I think that wasn't, I had my first child, I was 25 years old. It's relatively young, but it's like I knew I'm reading. Like I just want you to hear different things, different words. And if I don't have time to read, I'm gonna talk to you like you're my age. And I mean that, like, not in terms of we going back and forth like we are, like, no, we having a conversation. And you don't get it yet, but I understand that eventually you will. I remember my first year teaching. I was student teaching, actually, around my old neighborhood in Chicago. And I had a young lady who, it's crazy when you first start teaching, man, because I was only probably like really 3, 4 years older than some of these kids, man. It was weird, bro. I'm like 3, 4 years. I'm trying to act like I'm older and mature, but the only thing I know more than them is really just I got a little bit more schooling. But I had a young lady, man. She was about to have her first child, and she was like 18 or 19 years old. And I just remember thinking, like, I wanted to be able to impart some wisdom in her. And I came across an article that said the gap between like the word gap between people who grew up in poor environments and wealthy environments is like millions by the time they reach the age 3 or 5 or something like that. And kids being exposed to a variety of different words and vocabulary can like change the trajectory of their life. Just in terms of hearing those words, just in terms of having a more expansive vocabulary, which probably, alludes to like being able to problem solve and things like that. So I knew from that point forward when I had kids, we just gonna be talking about everything. And even if you don't understand it, I know in my mind that eventually you will. And by me using them context clues, you'll smarten up. I'm not gonna dumb it down for you. So for me,
Yeah.
yeah, man, Black history is like, yo, we're talking about everything. I understand that, we have a history where we've been oppressed, we've been this, but that's not who we are. And the advantage that I think we have over a lot of people is our history is glorious, it's magnificent. So if I can share that with you, I'm giving you a leg up on the competition. So it's all about that conversation. I'm showing you the positive people in your community, and I know you're gonna walk into that destiny. So that's what we do.
Oh, that's great, man. I appreciate you sharing that story. That made me think about I've been having this conversation a lot, like with my son and like with other people, as far as in the context a little bit different from what you're talking about, but I guess the root as far as like the words and not necessarily understanding what like things mean at the time, but still hearing it. And then I guess when you come to a certain level of maturity or understanding, then that resonating with you. And
Exactly.
we were talking about like the rap music. So like when I was coming up, well, me and Royce, when we was coming up in our circle of friends, like we would listen to Nas, we would listen to Wu Tang, different stuff like that. When they talking about like 5% Nation,
Yep.
they talking about like different aspects of Buddhism, like all
Yep.
that type of stuff. And like we didn't necessarily understand what they were talking about at that time, but we still listened to it. We was vibing with it. And you know how people say you can't unring a bell? Those words stuck with us because we heard them. And then like as we matured and grew, we was able to understand. So I think that's big, man. What you're saying about like reading to your kids and like just having them experience like just words.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something
Uh,
that people don't really necessarily think about, but that's big for a child's development.
Yeah, man. It's especially when you think about in our community. For one, we come from a lineage where this is far from our first language, so
Yeah,
we have to learn a variety of different ways to communicate. Whether it's what they say African American vernacular English or standard English, and a lot of times I think that we resort to expressing ourselves in deleterious ways because we don't have the words to express how we feel. So when you don't have the words to express how you feel, what do you resort to, especially as young man? So it's of the utmost importance. I'm glad you brought up hip hop too, bro, because that's another thing we're big on because we understand the impact not just of what I say, but the songs are probably more impactful because there's a soundtrack, there's music behind it. It's
yeah,
melodic. It's gonna get stuck in, what I'm saying, in your brain where it's subconscious brainwashing and conditioning.
yeah,
So we like for us, and I know y'all in the Chicago area, so like we, sorry, it's a couple of a couple of the stations we just don't let them listen to. We heavy on like the old school music, what I'm saying, V103, and we heavy on like the cleaner hip hop, and like some of our kids' favorite rappers, Toby, Nwigwe from Houston, because like his stuff is all of it is clean and it's lyrical, and the kids can pick up certain things from it. So yeah, man, that's powerful right there. Hip hop, if it's used correctly, is a powerful instrument for learning too.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So your name has some history to it. It has the third behind it. I want my son to pass that on to his son because he's the second right now. So, and my brother, he's the second also. So it's power behind that. So can you talk to me about the first two Ernest?
Oh
Ernest Crim.
yeah, yeah. So again, man, going back to that, my parents being the biggest influences on my life. Like those are my first role models, and everybody else kind of falls after that. Any athlete, entertainer, or historical figure falls under that. So like my father, Ernest Crim Jr., man, like to me, an even better grandfather than he was a father, and that says a lot. So what I always got from him, because my parents split up when I was young, was just that commitment to fatherhood. You know, it was never a situation where they let that get in between the relationship that they have with us. And even today, like they have a friendship. They're cool. We all communicate as a family. So one of the things I got from him that was very important was just the commitment. Every Wednesday, he picked us up. Like they split up at 7 from 7 through high school. You know what I'm saying? Like to the time I started driving. Then I started driving. I'm going over there every Wednesday, like same time every day. You know, every other weekend. You know that commitment. Where he worked the same job to help provide for us for 30 years at Sears, same location. 30, I can't even imagine, bro. 30 years. That commitment right there. You know what I'm saying? And then he would always like, and this when I started college, one of the things that was really cool was, you know, this is 2005, so like the social media era is starting to come upon us, but it ain't take over yet. So my man, he ain't even had like email or nothing yet, you know. So we had to really get him on board with that. But he would like send me stuff through the mail in my like dorms and my apartments, and it would always be like these little words of wisdom or these little quotes and stuff. And you know, like, and it was he was real big on choices, commitment, and responsibility. He was very firm on that. So it was always whenever I'm going through something, he's gonna come at me with, "Well, have you considered this? Have you considered why that person may have felt that way?" Coming in with that sound logic and that logic with love, you know. And I think one of the things that is really that speaks to the love he had for me and his composure was like just even like when I was learning how to drive, and I remember, you know, getting on the expressway for the first time and I'm freaking out, and you know he was just real calm. As opposed to my mom, no offense, my mom was freaking out soon as I put on my seatbelt. She's like, "Slow down!" Like, "Mom, I ain't even started driving yet." But I get on the expressway, and I think I like accidentally bumped the car or something, man. You know, like he wasn't tripping. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like the composure. When you see that as a child, that means a lot because you don't see somebody flipping out on you. That man it represents that stability, that place of logic for you. That you know that sound composure, whatever, and having that same name, man, it feels like a legacy because you know my grandfather, rest in peace, passed away. I think I was probably I might have been about 8 or 9, I believe. But the same thing, you know what I'm saying? From Florida, just what I remember the most about him from you know the short memory I had was just like the fishing experiences and you know him bringing that southern mindset to the south side of Chicago and having a garden in the backyard and him frying fish. You know, like, and then when I even traced my ancestry again, I had it kind of easy because my grandfather had the same name, but like seeing that name, he was named after, I believe, his uncle, you know, so there's a lot to that. But like, yeah, man, it's just a legacy to me of not just being Ernest Crim, but like the legacy of you know being that positive influence in my child's life and understanding that when I say something to them, it's like law. So I have to make sure I choose my words and my actions and everything very wisely.
That's cool. So, like, if you have a son, do you think you'll continue the name?
That's something I've considered and thought about. Like I'm honestly not 100% sure. Like I know a couple fourths. I just don't know if it rings the same way as Ernest Graham the third. But we definitely gonna see and be real with you, man. Like as I've grown in my like my maturation in terms of like Black history, I've been heavy in looking into two different names. You know what I'm saying? Because understand that although I'm proud of this name, understanding the history of why we had to adopt these names is something that doesn't escape me. So it's something
Yeah.
that we've talked about a lot, and also too thinking about what my name would have been if you know if I was in West Africa and all you know that's that whole little conversation. So
Yeah, I
Okay.
think you don't see a lot of fourths, and I think it would look cool on the jersey, like
right,
to the
right,
league, like the I with the V. That'd be man,
right.
that'd be crazy.
Super Bowl stuff.
Right, right. But yeah, so speaking back to your experiences with your dad, so growing up, what would you say was some of the best advice that your dad ever gave to you?
Yeah, I would go back to well, man, you know, so it's a couple things. So again, like, you know, The choice is commitment, responsibility. When you make a choice, you commit to it, you be responsible to it. You know, like you don't quit on it. You understand you not and when I say man up, I understand like the context of where we at in society, and I don't mean that man up in the sense of like don't express yourself, but like man up and commit to what you said you was gonna do. That was very important. That's something that I still enforce on my kids today, and I enforce it in my teachings too. Another thing that I really got from my father was, and this is I don't think this gets stated enough in terms of the black community and just man in general, but my father always told me he loved me. You know, like whenever we departed, hug, kiss me on my head or whatever, like strong embrace. That I mean, it seems small, but when I hear about the experience other men have of never being told that from their father, or potentially even though knowing their father loved them, their father wouldn't directly say it. So we're talking about a legacy of fathers having to act hard under pressure. But my father was, and I'm not sure if his father was the same way. He never got that deep in that conversation before he passed. But I just know that that's a powerful legacy, man, because he had a soft spot, and he wanted to make sure his kids knew above and beyond, like, yo, I love you, and y'all my seed and all this and that. So another thing too is he actually, and I don't know if he remembers, but he was pivotal in my decision to be a teacher. And this is interesting though, because like my mom was an educator for years, but my mom never said, "I want you to follow in my footsteps," and I never wanted to. That wasn't the plan. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm in school, I'm thinking I'm going pro, or I'm like my first thing. Besides that, my thing was being a psychologist too. That didn't work out too well in college. My first semester almost flunked out, and I remember like just thinking of taking history and everything. And my mentor in college had a degree in teaching, but my father always said, he was like, we need some more black male teachers. You should really look into that. And again, like a couple people have mentioned it, but when my father said it, it was like, well, dang, well, I do want to make my dad proud, you know. So
Mm.
that's something that we as men have to really, really consider. Like, cause now I'm jumping back to my own place as a father. Like when my wife says something, right? There are times when my kids are, but mommy, but when I interject, no, that's it. They don't come back. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like there,
yeah.
there is
I
no
heard your voice get deeper as soon as you
they
said
heard
that.
right, right. So they heard the bass, and they understand that. So when my father said you should look into that, I was like, well, shoot, I need to look into that. That's what my dad said. That's me. That's my legacy. Now imagine on the flip side if he had said something like, man, you look at you almost flunking out of school, man. You ain't gonna be nothing. Now that's deep, right? So
Mhm.
the words he chose to steer me in that direction were powerful. And when I was almost flunking out, even though he was really big on me getting great grades in high school, he every time he picked me up, what you get on your test? What you get on your test? And I'm like, bro, like how you know? We ain't even like got the this is in the 90s and the 2000s. You can't even look online. But when I told him I wasn't doing too good in college, the same composure, the same demeanor, didn't get mad, didn't yell. It's like, well, what you got to do differently? How you gonna change it up? You know? So like that, those are the biggest things, like steering me into teaching by using those words, uh, telling me to commit to things and be responsible, and just like, just really telling me he loves me. Cause like I don't have any sons now biologically, but I teach and I mentor. So I have a lot of sons. I've helped a lot of children. I've mentored a lot, and it's nothing for me to tell a young man I love you. You know, and that's a powerful expression that we don't express enough as men, especially in our community. And we don't have any idea how far that can take a guy, because whether we know it or not, every young boy wants validation from a OG. They want that validation. I saw two former students last week when I was at the gym, and I could still see that in their eye as me being their teacher 2 years removed. The
Mm,
validation, you know what I'm saying? But yeah,
yeah.
my father definitely did that. I wouldn't be here without him.
So Ernest, you know what I noticed about you, man?
Hmm.
You have like you have a certain like flow to your speak, and you haven't said like or like a lot. So
I didn't notice that.
I can tell that you're a good speaker, man.
I
So
appreciate it.
how did you get into like public speaking and get into that sector?
Man, bro, it's funny you said that because you said flow. And I used to actually rap in college.
Okay.
So I think
Still
What
got
was your rap
bars.
name?
I mean, man, it's one. My name was the Advocate, so I say a Black History Advocate. So my
Oh,
name,
that's cool.
I've
That's cool.
always been. So I'll take you back to this, right? I didn't always have confidence in that ability. I remember loving because y'all hip hop heads too. I'm here, so I loved hip hop so much. At one point in my life, I was like, man, I should just try to rap because I think everybody, if you really love it, you probably done try a little something. But I was like, my voice is too deep. It don't really sound right. But I had a time one in time in high school. We had to write a poem or whatever, and I wrote the poem quick. I don't remember what it was about, but I remember it just flowed easy. And this was probably like in elementary school. And I'm like, dang, that was easy. That was pretty cool. But again, no confidence. That just wasn't my thing. But I loved hip hop, especially Southern hip hop at the time. When I graduated from high school, my friend got a MacBook. This is like 2005, and he had the program on the Garage Band, and he started rapping on it. So I'm like, well, should let me try. So I just couldn't stop writing from that point. And I mentioned like I call myself the advocate because even at that age, it's funny because I still was using it as a medium for education. I wasn't that person, like, even though I grew up mainly off like the Southern hip hop and eventually Nas and everything, I wanted to use it for a purpose. So I felt deep down in my mind that I wasn't really going to be doing anything with rap. Now, lyrically, I think I was good. Everything else, I don't know. But I definitely had the lyrics down. I was trying to educate people when I learned things, and I would perform, and I was pretty good at performing too. So when you start to perform, you have to get rid of those jitters. You have to like almost put yourself in another person's body because if you shy, you can't go up there like, yeah, mic check, mic check. No, it's
Yeah.
you go up there like, yo, all my people on, So I had to get a command for the crowd, and I had a crew of boys. We was rapping. We would stay up all night just spitting and rapping and listening to beats and everything. And I say this because that transition to being a teacher in the midst of this, all of these things are working together. Then I found that I love Black history. Then I found that I want to teach. And of course our kids love hip hop, so I'm incorporating like we listening to Nas and Tupac in the class. We breaking down lyrics. And I started to speak not because like, well, I could rap, so I could teach. I mean, I could speak. No, it was when I dealt with the hate crime. Actually, bro, I kid you not, 5 years ago today, 5 years ago today, on a Saturday, it was July 30th, 2016, and me and my wife were assaulted by this lady with the N word and spit. I recorded it, not realizing we were gonna get spat on. When I posted it, we were trying to get justice, and I'm not sure if you all can relate, but sometimes life will put you in a situation where you get sunk so low that you just kind of lose in the good way. You don't care what people think anymore. Like it's so
Yeah.
what? If y'all saw me in this situation, why would I be nervous to talk in front of hundreds of people?
Mm.
So over the next couple months, I would have people reach out. I had like a school reach out to me, a guy I used to know from grad school. I spoke to the kids there. I thought it was okay because I'm like, well, I'm a teacher, so that's kind of the same. But I'm like, well, you got to shift it. And then my second speech was 2017, Black History Month at Joliet Junior College. And I remember thinking like, oh, I killed it. I just remember thinking that like I felt the energy. I had the kids on the edge of their seat. I felt like because I was always the teacher that went off on tangents in class, and I was like, yo, speaking is just the longest tangent ever. so so like I've been cultivating speech since I was probably 18 unknowingly. So when I started to do it at like 29, like this is easy. So I just had to work on the format, structure, and things a little bit better. And honestly, bro, with through that, I found out like I feel like I found another layer of my purpose because I love doing that more than teaching because I realized I got into teaching so that I could speak life into these kids and point them in the right direction. So, but yeah, man, I think what I want people to know out there that are listening is you have no idea what your skills today will transfer to later. You're cultivating something. Like everything is everything. You know what I'm saying? So like if your child like loves sports and you love hip hop or love singing, understand they might not even do that professionally, but the skill it takes to try to be great in it is going to relate to something later. That's why I love sports so much because it teaches you that commitment, responsibility, that devotion to teamwork, and the devotion to the process and the goal. So yeah, man, that's why I started. But I don't do it anymore. I might like write some poems every now and again, but it'd be like some spoken word stuff. So
Man,
That's
we gotta
cool.
get you on the ones and twos, man. One of these days, man. Either on camera or off camera, man. We
hey,
got
but what's funny about that, man, kind of going off topic, is my wife really raps.
oh, she
Like
got
Mm,
real bars.
no, and she don't really do it too much anymore. And I really get mad at her for that. But like when I met her, she was shutting it down. She was the best rapper on campus, and she had a song. Y'all probably want to check this out when you leave. But she had like a teaching song that went viral about 3 or 4 years ago, and she remixed Cardi B's Bodak Yellow, and she turned it to like a math rap song. Went
mm.
crazy viral. Yeah, she dope, man. I'm mad that she still don't really do it, but yeah.
Ooh, what's the name of that song? So I can look it up.
If you just have to put in, like, if you put in Mrs. Crim, I think she put it code. No, I think she called it Kodak something, Kodak Yellow or whatever, because it was called Bodak for Cardi B. Kodak Yellow, I think. It'll pop up. Yeah, Mrs. Crim, Cardi B or something. It should pop up.
Can you go into that? Like, how did you and your wife met?
Yeah, so we met at U of I. She was a year ahead of me, and just kind of what happened was just seeing her on the bus. We saw each other, and it was one of those things where it was like, yo, like you look good, like I'm feeling
Yeah.
you, and but it was a combination of, this was like the AIM era, so AOL Instant Messenger, so we both kind of like made that eye contact a lot, and we contacted each other on the AOL Instant Messenger, kind of like one day, and just talking for a minute, like for a while. And I remember like just seeing her after that. This is probably like the end of my first semester in college. Kind of went up to her on some little immature kid stuff. You know how you do a little love taps when you're younger. And she had on her headphones, I remember, and I went up to her and kind of just yanked the headphones out. On some like real silly stuff, man. I don't have game. So so she say now, like, she was like, what in the world is this fool doing? But I went up to it, kind of got her attention, and we started talking, and yeah, man, the rest is history. Like, we started dating that following semester, and she, like, again, in terms of my trajectory, uh, we talking like fatherhood, yo, having a companion that's on their stuff
Yeah.
cannot be stated enough. Like, whether it works out or not, I know everybody's situation is different, but having somebody who can complement your weaknesses and your strengths or whatever, and is committed to that child the way you are, like, we really got to have a conversation about that, because when I met her, again, I'm on the verge of flunking out. She was on the verge of on the dean's list every semester. She had like a
Mm.
4.0 U of I, and she's majoring in math. And that stuff ain't no joke, bro. Like, so when I saw her commitment to what she was doing, some of the first dates we had were at the library. And that wasn't a place I ever went until I met her. I was like, "Yo, can we leave? Like, it's it's 11 o'clock. You studying for final still? Like, what is going on?" But yeah, man, that's how it was. And at the same time, again, she was like literally, and when I say the coldest rapper on campus, folks knew her. Young Cass was the name, and I was like, in comparison, it was like she was the like commercial, real cold rapper, and I was on some Black Star, Most Def, Nas, trying to like figure out
Mm.
that whole little thing. So yeah.
So your wife has bars. You
Yeah.
got bars.
Mhm.
I guarantee all three of your daughters got bars then.
Man, it's so my here's what's funny. My middle child, so she's 6. We think she's gonna take the throne in terms of the music. We figured out early that sports is not her thing. That's important, parents. I'm not saying don't get your kids involved in sports if they're not like really interested in it, but I'm really big on understanding kids like strength, and I took the DISC assessment some time back, and it really shed some light on who I am as a person. My oldest daughter, she's like me a lot. Like, she'll talk to anybody, she'll make friends anywhere. She's very vocal, very athletic. Um, My middle child is she can keep to herself. She'll play by herself if she needs to. If we take her to the track, like my wife has been doing lately, she want to stop. Like, oh, it's too hot. Like I'm tired. she she go about 50. I'm tired. I want to stop, mommy. Oh, it's too hot out here. But we put her on the piano, and she's been taking lessons. That's her thing. When we had our oldest daughter taking piano lessons, she would get bored. She didn't want to practice. But this child, the middle one, will hop on there and just start messing around with the piano. And we got we got a lot of music we listen to as a family in the car that of course is clean. And again, I told y'all like Toby was one. What's another guy? I can't think of his name. Oh man, he had a song with Big Crit and Lupe Fiasco, and he was a Christian rapper. But Lupe had a verse at the end, Lupe Fiasco, and she would always kind of go in rapping that verse when
Lecrae.
she was. It was not Lecrae. This dude is from Louisiana, and he has locks. Oh, I can't think of his name. He cold,
Oh,
man.
a
It was the song was like Our Father who art in heaven. Hallowed. It was like he said to pray over this real cold beat. So she would be like rapping and stuff like kind of easy. So I bet we call her so we call our oldest daughter Clojo. Her name's Chloe. We Flojo. So we call our middle child. Her name's Kayla. We call her Kaylee Keys, like Alicia Keys. So we trying to speak that Alicia Keys stuff on her. But I'm like, yo, she definitely gonna be the one playing the piano, singing and rapping, whatever it is. And and they'll grab my wife's phone in a second and find that rap video from a few years back and try to mess around with it with that. So yeah, they definitely gonna be comfortable in front of people, whatever they do.
you said the rapper. I'm trying to think of the rapper now that you
Yeah, I'm a I got it on my phone. I got all these playlists and stuff. So let me yeah, because and I think it's important too, man. Like when you had these things with your kids, that because the music I listen to, like for example, I love J Cole, but I can't play his stuff around my kids unless it's the clean version. And some of the stuff, even when it's clean, it's still you can tell what they're talking about. But I think it's important. Like our kids should be able to enjoy certain things, and like you want to listen to people as a family. Like again, like Lecrae. Lecrae is another one that we bump together because it's clean and everything. And when they get older, they can start to expose themselves. But his name is D1. That's who
oh,
it is.
D1.
Yeah,
Yeah,
D1.
yeah.
Yeah,
One,
so
okay.
yeah.
He was a teacher.
Oh, I think I read that before.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
that's dope.
yeah, yeah.
That's
What what has your wife taught you, like either directly or indirectly, about fatherhood
mm,
and a father?
yeah. So yeah, my wife, yo, she in terms of reaching my potential as a man and in every other thing, she has man, can't be stated enough. She is like an accountability partner for me, even though she probably doesn't realize it because literally, like our love story, who knew like the things I really don't value are the things that she values a lot. And it's important to be a productive human being, to be honest with you. Like if you can see my office outside of like just this little box, it's really junky, and this is probably the only junky place in our house. Because she's the type where when something is out of order for a little bit, she wants to put it back in place. She has the same mentality that she had in college about doing the work. We got to get this stuff done now. We got to work at this now. If we're planning a trip, she's looking up the flight. She's looking up what to do. She's very proactive in that sense, whereas I'm more prone to let's just kind of see how things work out. Let's get there and see what we can find. So she's
Yeah,
taught me that in certain things I have to be I got to be proactive and I got to be direct. And that let me know that one of the things I have to do to be successful for myself is like I write things down. I set reminders for myself, because I know she doesn't really have to do that a lot of times. She's very committed. Again, anybody that can get a degree in mathematics is, genius level to me. So like that, and also too, man, she's taught me to be a lot more direct in things, because it's probably it's hard to understand now because of what I do for a living, but I'm soft spoken for the most part. Like I'm not a confrontational person. except if it's like my family and stuff. But like in terms of one-on-one relationships, I'm not very confrontational. But there have been times we've had conversations and she's like, you need to address that with that person. You need to do this with that person. You need to do this and that, whatever. So that's something that I definitely take for her. And I also know too, like for her not having her father in her life growing up, I know that what she sees in me is powerful. And I know the fact that she even wanted to marry me means a lot. I know the expectations are high and they're different. And and she's told me countless times that what she sees in our relationship makes her want to just cry literally because she knows she didn't have that growing up and it means a lot. So like I know when I'm being a father, when I'm doing my thing, that I'm not only doing that for them, but I'm doing that for her too, because like it means something for me that she's able to see that, you know. So she, yeah, it, bro. I mean, it's been times like when they gone, like for real, like I'll have stuff to do and they gone, and I'll just be like, let me just chill for a little bit. But it's something about knowing that she's about to be back in the house or coming back that makes me get on my stuff. Like, oh, I got to get back on task, got to get this stuff done because I know like she is that person. This, and that. We got to get this done before we do anything else. So I need that about life.
Nah, that's dope, man. That kind of remind me of me and my wife, like our relationship.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
do you feel like you've taught her like anything about motherhood directly or indirectly?
That's a great question, and I'm sure I have. It's honestly something I've never really considered, you know. But I think our battle is always just again like the things we complement each other with. So it's like she'll be again, we have to hurry up, get stuff done. Whereas I'm like, let's just chill for a little bit. We could chill in this situation. Let's relax. And I know that because she saw her mom do everything a lot. That sometimes that I'm like, yo, you don't have to. I got you. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's probably the thing that maybe I've implicitly taught her the most is like, yo, we a team with this. You can relax. You don't have to do everything. We working together. When you're weak, I'll be strong, and vice versa. So
Now, what would you say has been one of the biggest lessons that your kids have taught you about yourself?
man, somebody's always watching. I think that my kid, man, fatherhood, I'm sure y'all can attest it is genuinely like the most amazing surreal experience you can have as a person being a parent because every child I've had different epiphanies in life. And I being a history person, I think about legacy a lot. And when I see my kids and I see parts of myself physically on them and I see like the mannerisms, it it makes me more patient. I might not have been that patient with my first baby. I don't know, but I still believe I had a high level of patience. But it makes you patient because you're saying, this is me. This is literally 50-50, me and my wife. And if I'm mad at this child for something, then I have to first reflect and say, do I have that characteristic? Because if I have it, then how am I going to tell them to stop? We need to work with it together. And
Yeah,
that's a humbling thing. I think a lot of times, because there are times when I want to just be like, just go off. You got to humble yourself and say, well, look, though, they're children for one.
yeah.
They don't have this stuff figured out. And two, they are exhibiting probably something that they learned from you.
Hmm.
So when I say always watching, sometimes we are explicitly showing our kids certain things like, yo, I want you to come out here. I'm gonna show you how I do the yard. I'm gonna show you how I put this together. I'm gonna show you how I make this food. That's explicit. But they also see us on the phone a lot. That's something all of us probably got to work with as parents in this generation. They also see us stressing out about work sometimes, right? They also see us having fun together. So there are things like that that we teach a lot. But I would say above all is the patience factor, and also too, each one teach one. So whatever it is that you have that you created, that you value, that you know how to do, that has any type of value, you need to make sure that you pass that on, because the legacy and inheritance is a lot deeper than just money. And like even with the work I do now, Like I want my kids to know I'm on this phone, I'm editing videos, I'm posting stuff. That's how I make money. I'm on this, I'm going in this office because I'm doing an interview or I'm going to speak, you know? And also like the managing of time. I don't think I would have written a book. I don't think I would be anywhere where I am now if I didn't have kids, because when you have kids, you got to do stuff on the schedule, especially if they're young. They don't
Yeah,
care nothing about what you're trying to do. When that baby crying, and that humbles you because you okay. It's one of okay. She's sleepy, she hungry or something. You know what I'm saying? So like, and I think to myself, I'm like, yo, when I'm really sleepy and I'm really hungry, I'll be kind of mad too. So I got to be patient. And so when I even like when I wrote my book, it was literally at night for the most part, where I woke up early because I got to get all this stuff done before my kids get up or before they need that attention. It definitely if you allow your children to raise you, it will make you a better person for real if you're doing it right. 100%.
that's big, man. Allow your children to raise you.
Yeah, we learn just as much as they do, man. I don't think that's mentioned. I mean, I don't know if y'all like, in terms of comedians, but I just remember growing up listening to, I love Chris Rock, but even like hearing Kevin Hart, he would make a lot of stories about his kids and everything, and you would see people make sitcoms based on their kids. I get
Yeah,
it now because they some funny little people too. Like, the stuff they do sometimes is mind blowing, but it's like I get it. Y'all trying to figure out life too.
yeah. So I know we're getting close to time.
Hmm.
I have one last question for you.
Yep.
I know that you're big on legacy and like history. So like when it's all said and done for you, what would you want your wife and your daughters to say about
Mm, that's a great question. When it's all said and done, I want my family to say that I was committed to them above all, and I wanted to make sure that they truly knew who they were and who they could be. Um, Someone who just led with love for the family, love for our community, and was just committed to making the world better, starting with the family first. That's what it's all about.
you? Dope, dope. I like that.
And I'll end it with it's really a statement. You already kind of answered the question already. When I booked the call, I asked you, what does fatherhood mean to you? And I'll read it to you, Ernest. You said it's the most important role in my life outside of being a husband. It's an investment in the future. It's an obligation and an important duty if we want a better world for us all, especially as Black people.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hey, that sounds good, huh? I
I
forgot I
try to
wrote
read
that.
it how you would read it. You know what I'm saying?
I gotta make sure I write that down somewhere for the
I
future.
got it for you, brother. I'll send it to
All right.
you. But can you elaborate on that a little more? I know we pretty much kind of talked about that overall, but
Yeah.
kind of like your last, you know, synopsis of that, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, bro, like it's really the reason why I got into teaching, because when I began to learn Black history, my thing was I wanted to always share it. And I always felt that if I was able to share it with the guys I grew up with, the ones who, didn't make the best decisions based on the setup of life, I felt like that would have changed what they would have done. So my next step was, well, I need to teach this to the younger kids, because when you teach children the appropriate way and mentor them the appropriate way, that's an investment in the future, meaning that you're giving a little bit here that you know is going to grow and blossom into something great. Like if you invest, like, people say you invested in Amazon 20 years ago, you're probably a millionaire now. The same thing with our kids. I'm looking at it that way. So when you're a father, when you're a mentor, because being a father is a lot deeper than having biological kids, the things that you impart in them, for better, for worse, can grow into something that we'll all deal with later. I mean, all we have to do is look at what's going on in the world right now. When we talk about issues with racism or climate issues or wealth inequality or sexism or whatever, we look back in history and we see how other people have dealt with it proactively or inactively. Because some folks said, "I'm gonna let the future deal with that." Like Thomas Jefferson literally said, "Yo, I feel bad for when God's wrath comes upon the country because of what we did with racism. He said something like that. So like for me, it's okay. I need to make sure that with whatever I do, I'm giving my all in a positive way to my kids and other folks' kids because they will have to deal with what we don't do right today. And that can be a startling thing to think about.
Man,
Yeah, that's true.
well put, man. Definitely, man. Well, Ernest, man, I'm gonna put this up in the Hall of Fame. Dr.
Yeah.
Young, do you concur?
Yeah, man. Hey, this has been one of my favorite interviews so far, man. This is truly dope, and I appreciate you joining us, man.
Hey, I appreciate y'all having me, man. We had a great conversation. I don't normally get a chance to talk about this aspect of my life, so I appreciated you all digging deep and bringing out those things. So definitely got to
Yeah, I
do it
feel
again.
like we should do another one, man. Just talking about hip hop.
And oh man, we could have talked
Oh
for an hour on that.
man,
Oh
two
yeah.
hours.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if y'all saw, but Nas got an album coming out soon, so I'm ready. I'm counting down the days. Got his second album in a year.
Yeah,
Oh, he got
Nas been
another one
coming out
coming?
with him, man.
Yeah, he dropped it. He just put it on his social media yesterday. He's dropping King's Disease Part 2 next
Mm.
Friday, and Kanye album supposedly gonna drop the same day, but I ain't holding my breath, man. He always pushing stuff back, so
Oh, that's crazy.
yeah.
All right, well,
Yeah,
again,
man.
man, thanks again, Ernest, for your time, for your candor, for your amazing story, for sharing it. For myself, for Sir Royce Briales, for Dr. Raheem Young, and again for Ernest Crim lll. Third, how do you say that in English? Third of his name? Second of his name? How do you say it? Am I saying it right?
I think so. The third, yeah.
The third. There you go. Yeah, thanks again for listening to WTF Interviews, and stay tuned for further announcements.
All right, y'all take care, man. Appreciate it. Thank